I've got a very, very close friend of mine, Tiger Laser, and he's just come back from Singapore. So welcome, Tiger.
Good day, thank you. Yeah, well, it's good to be home. Yeah, it's great. How are you, brother?
Well, all right, but to tell you what, we were just chatting, just having a social chat, and that's why I've got you online now, because what you told me was absolutely amazing. So what's fascinating to us in New Zealand, we're struggling to find skilled labourers, skilled workers and unskilled workers, and even highly skilled workers. There is really a deficit. And what I found on an international symposium, it's across the globe. Now, what you just said, you found the same as Singapore.
Oh, exactly. In Singapore, it's the same thing, except that in Singapore they have the Malaysian people that can come across straight away easily. But what's happening in Singapore are the local Singaporean. They're highly educated. They don't want to do the donkey's work. They want to be a boss.
Well,
and
we're
all
finding
that
the
sort of thing.
same here. The Kiwis don't want to do some of the leg work. Now, you just said the Malaysians generally pop across the border. Are they coming across now after,
Yeah,
after the pandemic?
they are starting to come across now. But what happened was after the pandemic, the government has put a restriction on foreign workers to help the locals. But it's not happening because not the locals doesn't want to work in the hospitality industry, for example. So used to be a rule where if you hire one Singaporean, you could hire five
Foreigners in, yeah.
foreigners in. And a lot of the Malaysian now work in Singapore, but they go home across the border of Johor, so which makes it a little bit easier for them. But yeah, and
So they made it harder for people to get into, because they've done the same here. Our government, in their wisdom, trying to protect jobs and saying, well, we're making it harder for immigrants to come in. But it's backfired because business can't run without the labour.
And the same exactly what's happening in Singapore, all these five-star hotels, restaurants. But the amazing is the hospitality industry, the recovery of Singapore is so amazingly the turnover has gone back to right up to before the pandemic in 2019.
So the turnover's going up. Sales are up, everything's going up, and as you say, the hospitality or hotels are full up, but there's no workers. Well, there's not enough workers.
Well, there's not enough workers, so what they're doing is they're working hard.
Oh, twice as long, and I think that's an international phenomenon. And tell me, what age group are these workers?
Well, in Singapore, you might notice that if you get a taxi, the people that driving taxi are the retired people, like 70 years old, 80 years old, like yourself, man.
Oh, 25.
Yeah. About 50 years ago.
Cheeky.
So the Grab taxis, the Grabs, all the people. One thing is because they don't really want to stay home. They said if they stay home, they grow old really quickly. So
Well, that's my generation's work ethic. We need to work, and we feel better for working, and particularly men. We were brought up that your purpose in life is to make income for your family.
yeah, well, it's exactly the same in Singapore, and they get bored at home. So like in the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, one of the biggest hotel in Singapore, like the those three towers with a shape on top of it, with
The big ship. Yeah.
yeah, infinity pool. A lot of the limousine drivers were Singaporean, and they were retired people, 70, 80.
Oh. Do you know what I'd be interested in? You haven't been back to Philippines, have you?
No, I haven't been back for quite a long time
It'd
because
be a shame, because it'd be nice to know if it's very similar over there.
yeah, it's probably pretty much the same. But the one thing in the Philippines is a lot of their income generated were for workers. They send their nurses, their factory workers.
Their people go all right around the globe, and they're renowned for high quality work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think the Singaporean government has changed. Before I left, I think they're now opening up the quota, and that backfire on them. So when I first arrived in Singapore, you don't have a waiter serving you. You have to use the apps. You scan the code, and then you order, and then they deliver it to you.
Well, Tiger, I've got news for you. In New Zealand here, the Labor government said, right, if you come into New Zealand, you've got to pay a minimum, I think it was $27 an hour, which is the living wage, and that's the minimum you've got to pay people, blah, 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 blah. Nobody was coming in. And plus, you're not allowed to immigrate here. You've got a temporary visa. Nobody was coming in. So now they've gone, no, wait for this, because you've been away, you probably missed it. You can come in, work for less than the minimum wage. I can't believe our government have actually accepted that. in some roles.
Wow, that's just incredible because this is happening in Singapore, and they're paying a lot of money for local to work in any industries.
But the trouble is people aren't coming out. The big question is, and I'm going to leave it with this, the big question is, where have all the workers gone? Because nobody in the globe can find them. You couldn't find them in Singapore. We can't find them in New Zealand. Australia can't find them. Oh, I heard New York, America, and Canada, and Europe. Where have all the workers gone?
Well, I think in Singapore it's a different thing because they put a hold on the quota, but that once they open up, there'll be a lot of people from Penang or from Malaysia to work in Singapore for better pay.
I don't know if I can. I don't know. No one else can find them, and everyone's competing now for workers. It just amazes me. Anyway, Tiger, look, thanks and welcome home.
Yeah, thank you, and all the very best to you guys.
Come
And
back and give us some more updates because this may add to something my daughter and I are doing right now.
sounds good to me. Cool.